And I love this bread because I'm not going to get my hands dirty. You don't have to knead it, and it's 4 ingredients. That is it. I think it's amazing bread.
You know, this looks like an artisan bread that you pay a lot of money for. You can do this in your own kitchen. And this particular recipe, she's been messing around and messing around and messing around to figure out how she can do less kneading, less of a process, less ingredients, and still come up with a nice bread. And she's got it down.
I'm excited. Well, what I have in here, bread flour. Always bread flour because the proteins you want for the gluten, it gives you more gluten and it makes the bread lighter and fluffier.
And it gives you those holes.
Yeah, the holes in the bread.
You have that artisan look bread. It almost looks like sourdough.
It does.
But it's not. So here's your cheating recipe where you can do a bread. Now, it's not gluten friendly, so this is not a gluten friendly recipe, but more gluten is more elasticity.
That's right.
The bread is softer, tastes better, and it has that beautiful look.
And you could do regular flour, you could do any other kind of flour. It just would be, I don't think the bread would be as fluffy. It's going to be a little tighter, but it would still be delicious, I'm sure.
You want your bread fluffy.
That's right. Now regular yeast, I would have to boil water or get the water hot and mix it up for the flour. Where this, if it's the rapid rise, pour it right in the flour.
Boom.
So it makes it quicker. I'm making this easy and quick. 2 teaspoons of kosher salt.
Kosher salt.
Always kosher. That's that. We're going to mix this up. And now I'm going to go to the faucet and just get warm water. I don't want it boiling hot, but hot enough that you'd like to take a bath in it. Does that make sense? And I'm going to get 1 3/4 cups.
All right, something we talked about earlier. You're going for a specific look and feel. Now, bread is really something that you have to watch. It's a science. So you're going for a particular look to the dough, and sometimes depending on the humidity in or out. Now, I know it sounds complicated.
And each time I've made it, I've had to add a little water, a little flour, and you can switch it up. But I always start with 1 3/4.
Okay.
And I'm not going to pour it all in because sometimes, depending on the humidity, we want this to be kind of like gooey, almost like gooey glue, but not cake. I'll show you. Yeah, kind of like that in the middle. But see, we're going to need more water, and I might need all this. And the 3 cups of flour, I use the whole 1 3/4 of warm water. All right, I'm gonna need a little more water. See how this is still kind of dry? I'm gonna get another 1/4 of water. You can't ruin this recipe as long as the dough looks kind of gooey. I'll show you when we are done with it here. That's what's gonna make it rise.
I think gooey is a technical scientific term.
Is it? Give me a little more, just a pinch. Yeah, I want it. You don't, so we're not gonna knead it. You don't wanna, it's like you want it so you can't touch it. It's kind of, there we go. I think that's gonna be good. All right, now see what I have here? See how it's just like, you would never pour that out and play with it. Can you imagine it'd be all over your hands?
So it's right to the point where, like you said, gooey.
Yeah, it's gooey. Okay, now a piece of plastic wrap. That's all we need.
Can I refrigerate it for later?
Yes. And actually, a lot of people, we want to let it rise. And sometimes it depends on if your house is warm, it could rise in an hour. It seems like about 1.5 hours to 2 hours has been good for me. And you'll see it's going to grow.
So once you let it rise, you can put it in the refrigerator.
You can put it in the fridge for up to 3 days. And a lot of people make this in the morning and let it rise, set it in the fridge, pull it out an hour before they want to cook it. Then you have fresh bread at night.
Some people like to put it in the refrigerator because it slows that yeast working down and you maintain those flavors in there.
You get more flavors. So this is good. We're just going to set this aside now for a couple hours and watch it rise.
All right. Okay, now again, this is not your typical bread recipe.
No.
This is not one you're going to handle a lot. You're not going to have it under your fingernails for 3 days. So here's what it looks like.
And see how it's jello-y? Let me open it. And this is doubled in size. This actually sat for about 2 hours. And like I said, if it was a summer day and you put it kind of by your window, I bet you'd have it in an hour. So, and you want it like this because I'm going to pour it. Interesting? Now I have one of these, a scraper, or we can use a spatula.
You can use a square spatula like you would
anything.
Work your stove with.
Now I have a little more of the bread flour here. I'm going to put this down. And I don't even have to touch this. You know me though, I always touch everything. I'm going to try not to touch it.
I want to make sure I'm understanding this. You don't really need this.
Not at all.
Okay.
We never need it.
I like the sound of that.
All right. And now I'm going to sprinkle a little more flour on top. And this is where we'll do the fold overs. And I use a spatula. So you could also, the spatula I had, if you don't want to have to buy one of these, but look how nice this is. So we're not really kneading it. We're just forming it into like a ball.
So there's a little bit of kneading, but not your traditional,
not really.
Got your hands up to your elbows in bread dough.
And that's about it. Now, parchment paper.
Okay.
I have that ready. Try to just flip this right over in here. We can reshape it if it doesn't do good, but and being it so like the way it is, just shape it into a circle.
All right, everybody knows that we love our cast iron. and we use enameled cast iron a lot.
That's right.
That is the perfect situation for this particular recipe.
Yes, it is.
Enameled or regular cast iron, a Dutch oven. Why is that? Because bread, if you talk to a lot of chefs, they like to use a steam oven.
Exactly.
In a situation where your pan is preheated to 450.
Right. And we've been doing that for a half an hour. It's 450.
Yes. So you're already getting the situation up to temperature,
Right.
450 degrees. So now we're going to take this and drop into this hot, preheated cast iron enameled pan, and therefore when you put the top on it, the steaming process begins. Therefore, more moist bread.
We got a bakery. And this is going to go for 30 minutes. Then we're going to take the lid off for another 12, and we'll have bread. Now, if you don't have one of these pans, you know what a lot of people do, you could put it on a flat pan because you're not worried about the shape. It's already circular, and we could put water underneath it and shut it, but you wouldn't, then you'd leave it for 40 minutes. The bread is ready. We got to take the lid off. I'm going to bring it out and show it to you.
So this is the first round.
So this has been with the lid.
Oh,
Beautiful.
would you look at that?
Isn't that nice? So now 12 more minutes open, and we'll
Can
have
you see
perfect.
that? Is that not beautiful? Now it goes back in,
12
lid
more
open,
minutes.
12 minutes. We got both ovens thoroughly employed.
That's right.
So your bread's ready.
Bread is ready. Oh my goodness, look at this.
Oh, if you could only smell this kitchen.
And what's nice about this, here's how we get our bread out. I'm gonna come over here. Ta-da! Get rid of this, and that just sits for 10 minutes. Can I have some bread?
Well, of course you can.